Hello everyone, Ish with you once again from Western Apples Group. In previous episodes that I posted, I mentioned how we can be of help to small business owners. And in those conversations, I mentioned something like fractional services. Now, fractional services is a bit new still. What's not new is fractional leadership. How does that happen? It happens in the sense of, say, you're a company, and again, we always talk from, from the perspective of the small owner, or we view the world through the lens of a small business owner. Where your growth takes you at one point is that you feel like you're not able to manage everything on your own. You are a human being after all, not an octopus. So you bring in extra help. You bring in help in the form of fractional support in terms of fractional security support, fractional financial leadership support, fractional operations support. It's almost like bringing in a consultant, but you bring them in with a bit more involvement, and they are part of your team, they're part of your advisory team, and you know that it's somewhat of an interim thing. It helps you go from this level to that level. You're not quite there yet in order to need a full-time CFO, but you need some strategic accounting and finance services, so you get a CFO, a fractional CFO, or you get a part-time controller, things like that. That happens with leadership, and it's easy to get because you can get them in fractions. You get them in terms of hours. Instead of 40 hours, I will give you 16. Are you okay? And the other person will come back and say, yeah, I can do that. And in these 16 hours, this is what I'm going to give you, and this is what you will and will not get. So it's a very easy thing. It costs money, but it's an easy thing because you know what you're getting into, you know what you're paying for, and it is something that helps you. It is something that elevates you. Now, where is that same thing in terms of services? That's very hard to get. Small businesses are usually stuck in this level where they have very basic systems and tools and programs and services, and there's no way for them to utilize something that's a little bit better. It's either here where you pay something like $50 a month, or it's way up here where you pay something like $2,500 a month. That's a big jump. That's many multiples and many orders of magnitude higher than what you're used to paying for. And that's something that really prevents and throttles and limits the ability of a small business to grow beyond a point. And when you hit that point, what do? The way it usually happens is that, and again, me being an engineer from past life, I think in terms of physics, and I mentioned the concept of latent heat of fusion a lot. It's as if you're taking a lot of heat, you're taking a lot of heat, it's as if nothing's happening. But what's happening under the surface is that all that energy is helping you get ready for the transformation to the next state, and suddenly it happens at a certain temperature, going from ice to water kind of a thing. How do you enable a small business to do that? What happens with typical business operations is that you grow your small business through operations to a certain level. And then at that point, an investor comes in or someone aggregates you in whatever way. There is some form of external investment that helps you elevate. Well, that's all nice and good, but what happens as part of it? That is the point where you suddenly become a small part of a large enterprise. You become a small fish in a big pond. You're not the same person, and that's a conflict that bothers in a more on a more personal level than most would anticipate. When you're a small business owner, suddenly you see people in suits coming in and implementing this and that, and they talk different. There's a whole different alphabet soup, and they talk numbers, and the way they present is so different from your culture. It's a very difficult thing to go through. It doesn't have to be like that. And that's where our offering of fractional services come in. Think of it like you use on the accounting side, for example. Say you use QuickBooks. It's not well known for its reporting purposes. It works. It just works for small operations. But when you have multiple LLCs or a group of, a network of systems. You would need to create a different QuickBooks login for all of them. And then you need something to consolidate all of that. It's not designed to operate in a multi-entity way. What do you do with things like that? So those are the kinds of situations where you need to really up your game and go for something like Intact or NetSuite, something like that, something or Microsoft Dynamics. You go for something that is really enterprise grade, but that also, as I said, increases your cost many levels. Now, what if someone came to you and said, well, I happen to have a subscription for 50 entities. I see that you're someone who has 5 entities. Yeah, I can help you create a consolidated financial reporting and management and accrual basis accounting, etc., etc. Basically, whatever you need to level up. I can give you access to 50 of those, 5 of those out of the 50 I have. That's an easier take. Or think of it in terms of, and we see this a lot in our businesses where people don't pay. They get the services, they buy, they're all nice and fine as long as they're getting the services actively, and then they stop responding to statements. They change, and what do? You have to send them to collections. What's the typical haircut that you have to take when you send something to collections? Somewhere between 35 to 50% of what you're owed will go to them. A lot of money. Is there really no way for you to avail and try? And if you could do it for 5 or 10% instead of 35, 40, 45%, would you not look into that? Those are the intermediate steps that a small business doesn't have. And they don't have it because they don't have access. A big part of the collections issue, for example, one of the first things they will do is they will run skip tracing. Well, do you have that service? In order for you to get that service, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of investment, and it only makes sense for you when you have an operation that is multi-million dollars in revenue or multi-location in your footprint, or you have this service that you need for tens of your clients who have not paid. What if you have 5 people who have not paid out of 2 offices that you run? You could still benefit from it. Would you not consider something per use, almost in a pay-per-view kind of a way? You would. So those are the things that a small business doesn't have. Accounting is an example. Um, Collections, that's an example. Another example could be analytics. Data, data, data. That's a foundation of what we talk about. Because as we mentioned in previous installments, that data has a way of taking the emotion out of the situation. Data is something that helps you see things clearly. But where do you get that access? In order to have some form of an analytics platform, you would have to make a big investment, a big investment. And this is investment in the order of 25 to $35,000 just to do the analysis one time. And then on top of that, you have the cost of implementing it. On top of that, you have the cost of, the recurring costs that you need. What if you could benefit from some insight into how your business is operating? You don't need to see the whole thing. You don't need to see the Christmas light with all the details and all the KPIs. You could benefit from tracking your 5 most important ones, and you could benefit from someone giving you the report every month and maybe sitting down with you for an hour. That's, as I said, an intermediate step. So you get the same service that you would have gotten if you were part of an enterprise, but you don't have to make that big jump from being a small business or a mid-sized business to an enterprise and surrender every kind of freedom and control and preference you have. And it makes you it allows you to be in a position where you don't live in that gap and you're not limited to this level. A lot of small businesses struggle to go beyond because this is a huge canyon for them, and you have to have outside money and third party investment and people who only care about return on your money because for them it is very impersonal. And I get that. I get their side as well. But what if you, as a small to medium sized business owner and operator, could avail those things? So it's from that idea that we have implemented this offering. What we have is subscription to these services, as I mentioned. These are expensive. They cost money, as you would have found out if you were to look into it. And if you come to a point where you're at an inflection point and you want to scale, you want more data, you want more access, you want strong, reliable handle on your numbers, you want to be on top of everything that's going on in your organization, we have the tools for that. And we have it available for uh, small to mid-sized business owners in a way that they can use it as they need. This option, this pay-per-view style access is something that a lot of our clients benefited from. And we try to be good neighbors anytime we have someone else in the same industry, for example, in dental, where we have our operations, we like to offer that. And it's very gratifying to see the benefits. And if that's something that you'd be interested in, again, let us know. It's very easy to get on and get our call where we explore where you are, and we kind of take it as a working session. The idea of it is that at the end of it, you would have a sense of where you could benefit from. We could chart a roadmap for you where you know that, okay, I am at, say, level 5, I want to go to level 12. I know that in between I have to utilize certain things. Which one do I avail, and at what point? How much would it cost? If you know that, you can go into your budgeting, you can go into your saving, and then you know very clearly that, okay, I'm going to make this investment. This is what a successful return on my investment means. This is the money, this is the time, and this is how I measure it. That's how we like to view everything because, as I said, it's very data driven and it has a way of taking emotions out. And we're very confident that it would be helpful to everyone.